Okay, hello. Okay, hello everyone. We're just going to wait a few moments while people get in on YouTube as well. So we'll just wait a couple of moments before we get started. So excuse our silence for a second. Okay, I think that'll do. That's enough silence. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this session. My name is Rhianne Jenkins. I work with Nord Anglia Education, which represents the school that we're talking about today, which is Oxford Sixth Form College. Oxford Sixth Form College is one of the UK's leading independent sixth form colleges for students aged 15 to 19. And they offer great flexibility from maybe other mainstream schools with different subject options, so things like A-levels, but also GCSE, BTECs, and a pre-A-level as well. So today we've invited Mark Love, the principal, to join us, and he's going to talk us through the different kind of pre-university options that may be available to you. Mark has a lot of experience of assisting students in order to gain entry into top universities and obviously onto their desired careers. So he's going to lead us through a presentation, and please do ask any questions that you have. We'll have lots of time for questions at the end, but for now I'm gonna hand over to Mark.
Rhianne, thank you very, very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are joining us from all over the world today. What I want to focus on today, I want to take a bit of a broader look for those of you who are students and thinking about choosing a particular programme to study in the UK, those of you who are possibly parents of those students, those of you who are advisors to those students, so that hopefully by the time we finish today's session, you've got a broader picture in terms of what you need to consider when you're making the choice of programme that you want to study. Now, perhaps unusually, what I want to start with is the work of a fantastic academic called Susan Ambrose. Together with her colleagues about 5 or 6 years ago, Dr. Ambrose undertook some work in looking at how does learning work? In other words, how should teachers adapt their teaching to enable students to learn more successfully? Now, I think this is the crucial starting point when we are looking at a student choosing the right programme or subjects for him or herself. By understanding how learning works, you begin to get an insight into the type of student that you might be, or your son or your daughter might be. Now, I'm not going to go through every single bullet point that's in front of you on the screen, but let's just pick out a couple. Now, as with a lot of academic research, you might say, well, that's obvious, we knew that. But also the differences with academic work is that there's research to back up what is otherwise just a simple assertion. So Ambrose, her research, students' motivation determines, directs, and sustains what they do to learn. In plain English, their behaviour in the classroom, their behaviour towards their studies is directed by their motivation. As teachers, we need to understand that so that we respond better to the students who are in our classroom. As students, you need to be self-aware enough to know that your level of motivation is going to have that huge impact on what you do. And as we'll see later, on what you choose to do, the programme that you choose to study. I think for me, probably the second most powerful principle that she researched about, and I'll paste at the end of the session, I'll paste a link to her work for those of you who might be interested in a bit more detailed reading. So she wrote here, students' current level of development, intellectual, academic, interacts with the social emotional and intellectual climate of the course to impact learning. In plain English, an individual's maturity interacts with the environment of the school or the college where they are studying to affect how well they learn. Translation of that, if you like. The physical place where you study is important. That sense of you feeling comfortable in a particular school or a particular college is essential to a student being successful. Now, that might seem quite abstract. How do I know if I'm going to be happy in this building? That's when it's about getting advice from people that know UK schools really well, because they will have a sense of the kind of environment and atmosphere at each of those schools. It's critical, it's absolutely critical to a student's success. Okay, so guys, we've gone through very quickly there two of the key elements of how learning works, what teachers need to be aware of to enable their students to be successful. Now, when I interview students, and I've been, as Rhian alluded to, I've been interviewing students for a rather terrifying 32 years now. I've been a vice principal or a principal for 24 of those 32 years. And a big part of that job is admissions interviews, it's speaking with students, excuse me a second. It's identifying their future path, what their ambitions are. These are the characteristics that one should consider when choosing a program of study. Whether it's yourself as the student, whether it's yourself as the advisor, whether it's yourself as the parent. These are the characteristics that all students have to varying degrees. So some students studying, for example, A-levels, biology, chemistry, physics, for example, will have a lot of prior knowledge of those subjects in their home countries. Other students might have very little. The depth of study of biology, chemistry, and physics will vary country to country. So it's looking at that before advising someone to come on to study those subjects at A-level. Young people are young people. I've got two daughters myself, two young daughters. Some are very, very focused. Career, I know what I want to do. I know where I'm going in terms of university, in terms of career, in terms of life. For those students, it's very much about getting the advice right about the right subjects. That's the crucial element. Other students have no focus whatsoever. None whatsoever. What do you want to do in the future? I don't know, Mr. Love. No idea at all? No, not really. Now, what I do with those students, just very quickly, because I don't want to focus on admissions interviews specifically, is everybody loves something. Everybody loves doing something. And what I do, I'm not a psychologist. I teach economics, I teach history, I teach a bit of politics. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just an old chap with lots of experience. Is have the conversation with that young person about what they are interested in, what they like doing out of school as well as in school. And that usually enables me to create a pathway forward for that young person. Some people are very focused on a subject. Now, how is that different from career? It's very, very different. Very different. Somebody might say that, Mark, you know, physics, I love physics, I love history. They don't know what they want to do with the love of that subject, but they know they love that subject. Then it's the responsibility of people like me to guide them to the right university degree path and thereafter the right career path. Many students are wonderfully mature, other students are not. Go back to Susan Ambrose's point about the interaction with the environment. So if you've got a young person who's not particularly mature, then their choice of school is particularly important. They might need, what's the best way to describe it? A lot more boundaries than someone who is very, very mature. Level of English, self-evidently. Guys, you know this. Your level of English has a dramatic impact on your success at post-16 courses in the UK. It also should come into consideration when you're looking at, do I study A-levels, do I study IB, what do I study? That level of English is a very, very important element to look at. The final one I was picking out from this slide is examinations. We haven't really got the time, but it'd be quite nice to do a poll and ask how many of you love exams, how many of you like exams, how many of you hate exams. Different courses have different weighting of examinations, and when you're choosing your program, you must think about that. Am I good at examinations? Do I enjoy examinations? Have I got that motivation to endure the challenge of assessment at A-level, for example, of being 100% exam? So these are the characteristics of students that I have met and that I do meet. And what I do is I tie those characteristics with advice on, this is the program for you. This is the best way forward for you. Now, as Rian said, we've got lots of time today, so I'm going to, at the end of the presentation, I'll spend a bit of time on 1 year programs, 1 year A-level, 1 year BTEC and Foundation. But for this part of the presentation, I'm talking broadly. So you want to come to the UK to study. You can study a foundation course, which we'll touch on at the end, at university or at a college. You could study, let's focus on 2 year courses, the IB, the International Baccalaureate, A-levels, or a BTEC qualification. Now, you can see here that I'm highlighting the fundamental differences between these. IB is very, very broad. So you've got 3 higher subjects, you've got 4 standard subjects, you've got community service, you've got top theory of knowledge. Great qualification, IB, brilliant qualification. Really, really broad. Lots of subjects, and that suits some students. A-levels, in contrast, depth. A lot more depth than IB. An American contact of mine who works at Harvard, this is many years ago, and he said to me, Mark, we can pick out the students who studied A-level. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, in comparison with the other students, A-level students, the depth of their knowledge in particular subjects shines out of them in the seminar room and in the lecture hall. So A-levels provide this phenomenal depth of coverage that are, as A-levels were designed to be, this fantastic preparation for university. BTEC, at Oxford Sitfield College, we only offer BTEC Business. There are a range of BTEC courses, but they are very, very narrow. So if you've got, say, BTEC Business, you know you want to study business. Let's go back to our characteristics. You don't like exams, yeah? You're not particularly academic, you just have this love of business. Maybe you want to set up your own business, take over your mother's business, take over your father's business. BTEC is the course for you because it focuses laser-like on what you really, really love, in this case, business. So let's just link these slides together so far. So we've got Ambrose talking about how learning works, and I've picked out those 2 key things: students' level of motivation and the environment in which a student is studying. Those 2 things you as students, advisors, parents need to very carefully consider and be very honest with yourself about how you fit in each of those categories. You've then got characteristics, and once again, make a note. I am this type of student. I am mature, I'm motivated, I know what I want to do. Or be honest, now, I'm not particularly mature, not yet. I don't really know what I want to do. I'm not particularly focused, and I don't like exams. It's crucial that you're honest with yourselves and with one another, because that then helps you make the right choice of program, whether it's IB, A-level, BTEC, or foundation course. Now let's have a little bit more detail Universities in the UK, A-level, they only require 3 A-levels. You don't need to study 4 subjects. Very, very long story short, A-levels were reformed by Michael Gove when he was the Secretary of State for Education. And in essence, they became harder again. And because their rigour was restored, the universities, the UK universities, went back to accepting 3 subjects. So you don't need 4. Some students will end up with 4 because they study A-level maths in 1 year, A-level further maths in their 2nd year. And across those 2 years, they would study perhaps economics and psychology as well. So students can end up with 4 A-levels, but it's not a requirement of UK universities. 100% exam. Now, that goes back to my point earlier on about exams. Do you like exams? Are you good at exams? And that's looking at your past performance at school, where if you've been educated in the school where exams are the big focus, you've got a reference point. If you've never taken many exams, there are fundamental tests that we set our students at admissions, and that enables us to make an assessment of if exams are right for you. So you're choosing your programme in the UK. You're thinking about A-level. What are those characteristics that we mentioned before? Which characteristics must you have to be successful at A-level? Your academic background is very important. So, for example, if you want to study A-level biology and you're 16, 17, and you haven't studied biology for 4 years, don't study A-level biology. You won't be ready for it. Yeah, it's as simple as that. The sciences at A-level need recent study of the sciences, whether that's a UK GCSE or an IGCSE or an international equivalent to those qualifications. Now, we know what those equivalencies are. So when I interview a student from any country in the world, I know that they are at a level where they're ready for A-level. So your academic background is very important for particular subjects like maths and sciences. Guys' work's not important. It's not important. Subjects like economics, very few students study economics before A-level. What do you need for economics, you say then? Well, Mark, if I don't need GCSE economics or equivalent, what do I need? You need a good level of English. You need a good level of mathematics. A-level economics is not hugely mathematical. It was, when I studied it, a very, very long time ago. It's not now. So you don't need this huge algebraic knowledge. You need to be able to write well. You need to have good skills of written analysis and evaluation, and solid mathematical ability to study A-level economics. A-level psychology, you don't need to have studied psychology. You need a good performance in a subject like biology, for example. So there are a range of A-levels where prior study is not needed, but there are other A-levels where that background is critical. And fundamentally, they are the sciences and mathematics. You should be focused. If you want to study A-level, you need to know where you're going with your career. Why? I use my hands a lot. I'm a typical teacher, so apologies for that. Let's look at the camera. That's the career that you want to achieve. To do that, you need this university degree. To study this degree, you will need particular A-levels. So having that clear idea about your career is essential, because it means you choose the right A-level subject. Too often in my career, I've had to help young people who have been to other schools and colleges where, to be honest with you, they were given very bad advice, and their mixture of A-levels was completely inappropriate for what they wanted to do. A-levels are good if you, what did I say earlier on about that love for a subject? So you're not sure about career, but you know you love politics and economics and history, so sort of that international relations combination, if you like. It's my job, our job, to help you then, to show you how that then leads to a university degree and thereafter a career. You do need a good level of English, 5.5 minimum for A-level, and your maturity should be matching the sort of social environment that Susan Ambrose talked about. Now, specifically for Oxford Sixth Form College, we are a sixth form college, so we are not a traditional boarding school. So we don't have uniforms, relationships are, it's like a halfway house between school and university. So you are trusted as young people and given that the support is there and we monitor you, but we monitor you from a distance. We're letting you develop as an individual. So for A-level students at a sixth form college, we need to see that you are a mature person. Now let's move over to IB. So rather than depth, IB, as we said before, is this very, very broad subject. Once again, academic background is very, very important. IB is very good if you say, Mark, do you know what? Subjects, not sure. Career, not sure. IB is really good because its breadth enables you to cover a range of different subjects that hopefully prepare you for where you do want to go. So if you're a young person, you're looking for a 2-year course, you're not sure about subjects, you're not sure about your career, then my advice, even though we don't offer IB, my advice would be look at IB. You know where you want to go, you know what you want to do, A-level, 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 every single time. With IB, because of the mode of assessment, a lot of the assessment, or a fair amount of the assessment, it's internal assessment. So you are going to have to be extremely self-disciplined for 2 years. So it's, metronomic production of high quality work. Now that, some students cope with that. They enjoy that constant pressure and they're self-disciplined. Other students, that's not their characteristics. That's not what they are set up for. They enjoy consistently completing homeworks, internal assessments, but they want that end of course exams assessment. That's what suits them. Choose A-level. Yeah, if you want to have that pressure at the end rather than consistently through the course, then choose A-level. Now BTEC, the biggest difference here, I mentioned before how it's it's narrow, you know exactly what you want to do. You want to be an entrepreneur, a business person. The key difference here is assessment. Only 12%, 11.6 to be precise, is formal assessment, where you sit down in an exam room and you do an exam. This is a perfect course for someone who is not exam orientated and who has, as I say, that laser-like focus on a particular area, in our case, business. It is completely accepted by all UK universities, with the exception of Oxford, Cambridge and Imperial. We have got BTEC students here into UCL, for example, Birmingham, Bristol, Manchester, a whole range of Russell Group universities. So let's summarise this sort of first part of the session today. We've looked at Susan Ambrose's principles of learning, what makes effective learning. We've looked at how well motivated is a student. We've looked at is the environment in which a student studies, is that suitable for them? We've looked at the characteristics of students and how you need to be very self-aware about your characteristics that enables you to choose the right program. We've looked at 3 programs that the UK offers, not just the UK, obviously: A-level, IB, and BTEC. And hopefully, I've given you a good sense of which way to go. Do we go A-level? Do we go IB? Do we go for BTEC? Now, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm just going to take any questions on what I've just spoken about, and then we'll step into talking about one-year courses, and we'll talk about one-year A-level, and we'll talk about one-year foundation, and we'll talk about one-year BTEC. So questions, guys, please do ask me any questions that you may have.
I have a question, Mark. If while we're waiting for anyone to write in the chat or come on, you're welcome to unmute yourself if you can and ask a question. In your experience or in your view, what do universities prefer as a qualification generally? Is there one that they prefer, or is it really depend on the university or the subject that students are going to go on to do?
They are equally accepting of A-level and IB. There's no differentiation there whatsoever, so they're absolutely fine with that. They will want particular A-level subjects for particular courses, and they will possibly want particular IB subject combinations for particular courses. So it's very, very important that, and I know it's quite difficult for some young people, I haven't thought through my life yet, Mark, but if you want to go to university in the UK, you've got to do that advanced research of which subject at A-level or within IB does this university want. So they accept A-level and IB equally, but one should look at the particular subject combinations. With BTEC, all the universities absolutely fine with BTEC. As I say, Oxford and Cambridge, no. Imperial, no. Every other university, LSE, are not particularly keen on BTEC, but the vast majority, outside of the G5, if you like, the top 5 UK universities, BTEC is fine. Now, I'm going to talk about one-year courses in a second, Marie, so we'll come back to that, because there is a way of combining BTEC and A-level that can get you into universities as well. Ola, sorry, hello, I've just seen your question. My apologies for not picking that up earlier. So Ola, you've said, thank you very much for your kind words. That's really kind of you, thank you. And you're in South Africa and you're coming to the UK, your daughter's 17, and you're looking for some advice there. She's in grade 11. Now, I think ideally, there are two contradictory answers to your question, really, Ola. There's one, ideally, she finishes her current level of education in South Africa. Now, I think I'm correct in stating that the South African academic year finishes in the autumn, I think pre-pandemic, I think it did. Now, if she can't do that, she needs to move with you to the UK. You might well say, well, Mark, I'm worried she won't have any qualifications at all pre-A-level. Don't worry about that. Even pre-pandemic, the universities are very, very good at being aware of a student's family situation. So when a student applies to university in the UK, a reference is written for them. And in that reference, one should always tell the story of the student. This is why he or she hasn't got any pre-A-level qualifications. I worked with some twins about, gosh, 8 years ago, and they followed their parents around the world. Their parents did some very interesting jobs, actually. And the twins had never got any qualifications and came to us for A-level, where I worked in the past. And we told their story to universities. We said, look, these guys have been following their parents around the world since they were born. They don't have any GCSEs or equivalent. Not a problem. One of the twins got an interview at Cambridge. He didn't get into Cambridge, but he got an interview at Cambridge. And his sister got into LSE. Now, one of the very few, well, there aren't any, are they? The only positive thing about the pandemic from within this context is that lots of students have been able to take exams. Thousands, tens of thousands. and the universities are aware of that. So it's made them even more conscious of looking at each individual student and not having that expectation of qualifications pre-A level, pre-IB. So it's a very long answer, and my apologies for the length of that answer, but hopefully that was a little bit useful. So, question from Ravina. Can I apply to Oxford and Cambridge in the same year? No, you can't. When you make an Oxbridge is what the Brits do to combine Oxford and Cambridge. So we talk about an Oxbridge application. You can only apply to one or the other. You cannot apply to both at the same time. And then Ravina, yes, your tutor in Sri Lanka says that you cannot. Your tutor's correct. You cannot apply to Oxford in the same year. Karina, have a look. Art programs, language supports, pathways to universities, and industrial engagement. So the art programs that we have here are around A level. So 2-year A level programs, fine art, graphic communication, and photography. And the students studying those subjects, 99% of them want to go on and study art at university. The broader arts, we offer film studies as well, which quite a few students pick up as well. Language support, in addition to A-level, we run EAP, English for Academic Purposes, IELTS tuition. So that runs alongside the A-level or alongside the BTEC, taught by specialist EAP teachers who've been teaching English for academic purposes for a very, very long time. In terms of university, we provide extensive support for university applications. In the UK, as you may know, guys, you go through UCAS, and a lot of support is given with that side of things. If you want to be a doctor and you're applying to Imperial, Oxford or Cambridge, you have to take something called the BMAT, the Biomedical Admissions Test. Now we prepare you for BMAT. If you're applying for law for many universities, you have to take LNAT. We prepare you for LNAT as well. We also undertake a lot of interview practice with students. So a lot of support for university. Licia, you've got our scholarships available. Yes, they are. So the way our scholarship scheme works is it's orientated around your target career. So if we have a student, let's say he or she wants to be a fashion designer, then we want to see photographs of their art portfolio, and the art team will assess the standard of the work. The other part of that scholarship process is an interview either with me or with Mags, who's the Director of Admissions. If you want to be a doctor or a dentist or a vet, you'll take a chemistry paper and obviously have the interview as well. If you want to be an entrepreneur, then you take a business paper. So we have different scholarship papers depending on what the target career and degree is for the student concerned. Right, guys, I think that's all. One new message just popped in.
Sorry, that was just me, Mark. I was just sending a link to the scholarship stuff, just in case anyone wants to read about that a little bit more.
So, right, thank you, guys. So what I'm going to do now is, don't worry, I'll come back to the chat when we finish the next section. Now, I want this to sort of be more of a conversation rather than, I haven't got a PPT for this deliberately, because Rian very kindly is going to sort of chair this sort of part of it, if you like. I mean, I want to talk about the one-year programs. And I've done this separately for a very deliberate reason. When you are choosing your programs, you should unquestionably take into account what I've talked about today. Now, if you're looking for a one-year program, usually in my experience, the drivers for students looking for one-year programs are quite different. Actually, no, that's wrong, sorry. They're not different. There's an added urgency. So the students tend to be 18 or 19. They are very much, I want 1 year before going to university in the UK. I don't want 2 years. Now, just a word of caution on that. Don't let that make you fail to consider what I've talked about today, that I must get this done quickly, I must get this done quickly. Do still stop and think, which is the right option for me? Now, as you all know, I stand to be corrected. I don't know anywhere in the world that does IB in 1 year. I don't think the IBO, which is the accrediting body, I don't think they allow IB to be taught in 1 year. So we'll park IB, yeah? So 1 year. Let's talk about 1 year A-level first of all. Can A-levels be done in 1 year? Yes. Is that a huge mountain to climb? Yes. Do you need a very high level of English to be successful at A-level in 1 year? Yes. In my experience, somebody should have at least 6.5 at IELTS or equivalent. So a 7 or an 8 in IGCSE English, for example. That high level of English is critical for success on a 1 year A-level. The other thing is obviously that maturity must be there, because you're going to be under so much pressure with a 1 year A-level, because you're taught so quickly. You are taught everything in the A-level in 1 year. You are traveling at academic speed. So you've got to have that maturity. You've got to have that focus on what we're going to do. You absolutely need prior knowledge. You know, if you're going to take on A-level maths in 1 year, you need to be a very good mathematician. So we assess all of that at admissions interview. Now, 1 year A-level is clearly not suitable for everybody at all, partly for the reasons I've described. They say, well, Mark, I haven't got 6.5. I'm not an academic high flyer, but I still want to do a 1 year course. You've got 2 other brilliant options. And one option is an international foundation program. Now, and you should take advantage of the fantastic knowledge and expertise that SIUK have with regard to foundation programs in the UK. These guys know what they're talking about. Yeah, they are experts, they are professionals. I've known SIUK and worked with them for probably 12 or 13 years now, actually. Choosing a foundation program, once again, look at, does it match your interests? What's the percentage of exam assessment? So for some foundation programs, for example, NCUK foundation programs, some of the subjects are 70% final exam now and 30% coursework. Now that might suit you. You think, yeah, that's okay. It's not 100% exam, that's fine. Ask the question, how many hours, how many subjects in total in the foundation program do I study? How many hours a week am I in the classroom for? Do I have additional expert EAP, English for academic purposes, support as part of the program? Now, a third option to consider, and we don't offer foundation programs here, so we offer 1 year A-level for the kind of student I've just described, very academically able, very high level of English, aiming for a top university in the UK. We also offer something called BTEC Plus. Now, BTEC Plus, it consists of the BTEC Business Diploma that is worth 2 A-levels. The extended diploma is what you would study over 2 years, and that's worth 3 A-levels. On the 1 year course, you do the diploma. That's worth 2 A-levels. Alongside that BTEC Business Diploma, you study 1 A-level. And you can choose from psychology, mathematics, sociology. And what we've done with the curriculum there deliberately is say, right, we've got a young person who wants a one-year course. They're not a big fan of exams, or they don't like exams, and they love business. And they're good at maths. And maybe they want to go into the accounting, the finance side of business. So they will do the BTEC diploma and A-level maths. Then we have students, once again, they're laser-like focus on business, but they're very interested in marketing, or they're very, very interested in human resource management. So they will do the BTEC diploma and put A-level psychology in 1 year alongside it. Then you've got students who are very, very much interested in that broader aspect of business, the sort of market research side of things, if you like. They can pick up psychology, but quite a few of them will pick up sociology. So that study of society, and study that with the BTEC business. As you all know, to be effective at marketing at quite a strategic level, if you like, you need to understand the society, whether it's one country or global, that your service or your product is trying to operate in. And sociology is a wonderful A-level to provide that kind of grounding without a shadow. So those are one-year options, guys. Foundation program, BTEC Plus, as I've just described, on 1 year A-level. Choosing between those, think about what I've talked about today, your characteristics, whether you like final exam, whether you like ongoing assessment, and talk to people such as SIUK who know the detail of particular courses. Talk to people, dare I say it, like me, who have that expertise and know and can advise you appropriately. Right, guys, I'm just going to jump back into the chat and see if we've got any more questions there. So Alicia, for physiotherapy in the UK, you need to study biology A-level, chemistry A-level, and mathematics or physics A-level. Do not go beyond those 4 subjects. Getting into physiotherapy in the UK, it's almost as competitive as medicine. Some of the physiotherapy, the medicals, the universities offering physiotherapy have restricted numbers of international students that they will take, but it is now open to international students. If I go back to the beginning of my career, the middle, 20 years ago, it was practically impossible for an international student to get into physio. You can now, you absolutely can. So questions, guys, questions. I'm going to grab a little cup of water.
We've got maybe five minutes left, so if anyone does have any questions, do ask them now. But maybe, Mark, people might be wondering about if they were looking maybe to apply to Oxford Sixth Form for September. Maybe you could just run us through quickly the kind of application process, and if it's different for the different courses as well.
Okay, so the application process, guys, is reasonably straightforward. The most important element is the admissions interview. So you make contact with Rian or any of the other people that work with the college, and you express your interest in joining us in September. That then leads to, you'll then be asked to complete an application form. There is no commitment at that point. That's just so that we can gather very important information about you before we conduct the admissions interview. So when you're filling out those application forms, don't worry, that's not, I am coming to your college, Mark. That's not what you're doing. You're just giving us information. Next step is we would try and gather more information from you if we need it, about your academic background, about your interests, your current school, and so on. Then you have the admissions interview. Now that would more than likely be with Mags, who's my director of admissions. She's been on maternity leave. She came back yesterday, which is fantastic. Or it would be with me. The admissions interview is very much a conversation with you about echoes of what we've spoken about today. You know, what's your motivation? What are you aiming to do? What do you want to do? so that we can, and it's informal, so that we can put together the right kind of program and pathway for you. After your interview, Lynette and the admissions team here will send you an offer in place, and you have, I think, because I don't get involved in the detail, I think you have 3 weeks in which to make a decision. So the interview is the most important part, guys. Interview on Zoom or Teams is fine. Obviously, face-to-face, we're doing face-to-face interviews. I've got 3 this afternoon. That's fine as well if you are in the UK.
Excellent. I think there was one last question in the chat there. If you see that, Mark, does an APS score of 30 for physiotherapy apply at Oxford?
Ooh, very good question. If you bear with me, Licia, I can go to, I don't think Oxford teaches physiotherapy. It doesn't, in fact. You think, Licia, are you thinking about, and I might have this completely wrong, going into medicine and then specialising? Because some countries do it that way. Whereas in the UK, you go straight into physiotherapy. Just to see if she's going to reply.
We'll see.
While I'm waiting for you to reply, I'm just going to go. Let me just, first of all, so I'm just going to post in that link to Susan Ambrose, which I mentioned, and then so guys, I'm just going to post this for everybody. All right. So the Oxford University website is really, really good, actually. They've done some good work on it over the last few years. So you can very easily find your target degree course and the subjects that you need. So Licia, Oxford doesn't offer a physiotherapy degree. If I pick out, let's go King's College London, so they do. You can see what the actual requirements might be for non-A level. Just going to post this, guys. So Licia, what I've just sent, that's the King's College link. Now, hopefully you can see the screen. Can you see the King's College screen? Yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and guys, I know this is a very specific question, but this is what you should all do. You know, when you're thinking about, right, I want to go to hopefully my college, but whichever school in the UK, and I want to do A-level or BTEC or IB or foundation, you should look ahead. Excuse me. Most of the university's websites are good in showing you what you do, what you should have and you shouldn't have. I must admit, the King's website is not particularly good, for example. So here, this is physiotherapy at King's College London, required subjects, A-level, A or B, in 2 subjects from biology or human biology, chemistry, blah, blah, blah. So it's laying out exactly the A-levels that you need to study. Now, there's the IB requirements. Now, then you go down here, BTECs. So you can see here that King's will accept a BTEC in sciences, obviously not business, for entry to physiotherapy. International, Olivia, I'm not sure which country you're from, but if you're in the US or you're doing a US curriculum, you just simply click on that and there you go. So they accept APs, ACTs and so on. Now, this is where King's College website is good. It says go to entry requirements. You'll just go in a loop and you'll get taken back to where you are now. Email the department directly and say, this is me, this is what I'm studying, is it acceptable? I've done that for several students who've come to us from the US over the last couple of years. And it's very important that that is done so that you have confidence that your qualifications before you come to the UK do meet university requirements. Guys, I'm conscious that it's now 12 noon. Well, in the UK, it's 12 noon. Thank you so much.
I've just put my my details there in the chat. So if anyone does want to follow up with anything, you're welcome to. But I think we better leave it there. Thank you so much to Mark for this session. I think it's been really useful, and hopefully everyone else has found it useful as well. So yes, thanks very much, Mark.
Thank you, Rian, and thank you everybody for joining. And have a lovely afternoon or evening wherever you are. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.